One of my favorite things about Spider-Man is his rogues gallery because he just has such a rich rogues gallery. So many interesting, crazy, kooky villains to be explored and that have been explored in live action before. I mean, just look at this basically history of all the live action Spider-Man villains that we've seen throughout the years. But of course, when it comes to not just one, not just two, but three, four, five, six Spider-Man villains, sometimes even more, that of course brings us to the possibility of the Sinister Six. Something we have all wanted to see on the big screen for, well, pretty much forever now at this point. I mean, the Sinister Six was created back in the 80s or 90s or something like that. Maybe even before, but I just remember, first time seeing them was on Spider-Man the Animated Series, and then I grew up watching them and all the other various Spider-Man cartoons. Spectacular Spider-Man did great adaptation of the Sinister Six. So, of course, we all want to see this team done in live action. We got kind of a version of the Sinister Six in Spider-Man No Way Home. It was more of a Sinister Five, and they weren't really a team either. We just had Green Goblin, Dr. Octopus, Sandman, Electro, and Lizard just happened to be all there in the same movie at the same time, but not working as a team and all being from different universes for the most part. So it wasn't really a Sinister Six. But we have known for years now that Sony has a huge interest in bringing the Sinister Six to live action, which is a good thing because that's what we all want. It's just in Sony's hands, it has never gone well. I mean, of course, they were originally going to set them up in the Andrew Garfield Amazing Spider-Man movies. We got that tease in like the credits for the Amazing Spider-Man 2. That one, no. We were supposed to get a solo movie for the Sinister Six. That didn't end up happening. And then who knows what else is going on now. But with the MCU and Tom Holland Spider-Man specifically, my hope and faith in a live-action Sinister Six has now been restored. And we have a brand new report from Scooper Film Odyssey saying that Sony is still indeed working on doing a live-action Sinister Six, but this time not stupidly as a solo film that doesn't have Spider-Man in it, because it's just a terrible idea, but instead within a Spider-Man movie, and that Spider-Man will be Tom Holland Spider-Man. Now, they don't specify if it's going to be in the MCU Spider-Man trilogy, this college trilogy that we're going to be having coming up here, but I'm assuming that's going to be the case, and that's what I really hope is the case. Although, I don't want them to rush into this, though, and have it be that this next Spider-Man movie, the MCU Spider-Man 4, is just boom, Sinister Six. No, I want this to be kind of like how Homecoming, Far From Home, No Way Home all built up this kind of a pseudo Spider-Man's origin story in the MCU. I want this next trilogy to build up to the Sinister Six, so that then maybe, coincidentally, MCU Spider-Man 6 is the Sinister Six movie. I think that would be a great way to do it. You build up some other villains in Spider-Man 4 and 5, and that is exactly how you get it done. Now, what would this Sinister Six consist of? Because, of course, there's a lot of possibilities with that. I mean, in the comics, there's been so many different iterations of the team, so many different leaders, so many different members. And so, of course, when it comes to live action, it's very open and flexible when it comes to the roster. But what I would really love to see from an MCU Sinister Six is, first of all, Mysterio. Yes, we got Jake Gyllenhaal as Quentin Beck Mysterio in Spider-Man Far From Home. One of my favorite live-action Spider-Man villains. He was done so well. And Mysterio has always been one of my favorite Spider-Man villains in general. And you may be thinking, but didn't he die at the end of the movie? And I mean, yes, but did he really, though? Because, I mean, he's literally the master of illusions. Like, his whole thing is lying and tricks and stuff. I'm 99% sure he's alive, and even if they didn't even plan on that, they can easily make it that, oh no, that was just an illusion, boom, he's alive, because he needs to be a part of this Sinister Six, because first of all, not only is he integral to Tom Holland's Peter Parker in the MCU and this version of Spider-Man, he already has a huge grudge against him, but also on top of that, Mysterio has just always been a big part of the Sinister Six in the comics and all other adaptations as well. So Mysterio is a character that I think you have to have on this team, alongside also the Vulture as well. Michael Keaton, great actor, loved him as Vulture. Again, another one of my favorite live-action Spider-Man villains in Spider-Man Homecoming. He was great as that version, and, since that movie, when I first started thinking about, MCU Spider-Man Sinister Six, let's get some Michael Keaton Vulture up in here, except, obviously, just ignore whatever happened in those Morbius post-credit scenes, just yuck. Just ignore that. But speaking of Spider-Man Homecoming, though, another villain is Herman Schultz, aka the Shocker. A character that hasn't had, at least in the mainstream, isn't usually a member of the Sinister Six in the comics and from what I've seen in animation. But I think, he's been set up here in the MCU. He was in Homecoming. He escaped. He was never arrested. So he's still out there in the world. He got his Shocker gauntlets. He could totally be a part of this team. Again, he has a grudge against Spider-Man. You have this connection where if Michael Keaton's Vulture is a part of the team, he may be like, hey, I know a guy that I used to work with. And then he brings in Shocker. I think that'd be pretty cool. But of course, the number one thing with Shocker, though, is that we have to get him a comics-accurate suit. I mean, I remember being so disappointed by this because this is what he looked like in the movie compared to what he looks like in the comics, especially when there were toys out there that looked like this. So there was a version of this movie where he had a comics-accurate suit that looked like this, which actually looks really cool. I actually own this action figure because of how cool it looks. This is a great design for Shocker. And then, even more disappointingly, when there were these supposed leaked set photos of Shocker in the movie, and then this ended up being just a publicity stunt. Some random fan just started posting these online and pretending like, oh my gosh, guy, this Shocker's leaked. And it ended up being absolutely nothing and completely fake. Because even this, it doesn't look great, but it looks better than what we got. So I'd love to see Shocker in his main comics outfit for Sinister Six movie. But then the Scorpion as well. This has been one of the biggest loose threads hanging in the MCU since 2017 when Spider-Man Homecoming came out. Matt Gargan, played by Michael Mando, he was set up there. He was in prison. We literally had a post-credit scene which was supposedly setting up the MCU Sinister Six, where he had an interaction with Michael Keaton's Adrian Toomes and said something about, hey, our little spider guy, I want to know who he is. I got some guys on the outside who would like to, slit his throat, throw his head in the dryer, do stuff like that. This was setting him up to be the Scorpion, and he has never appeared since that post-credit scene. Now, of course, there's big rumors and just, theories going around that he will be one of, if not the main villain of Spider-Man 4, which I think would be great, especially, because with the character of Matt Gargan, there's actually options here. Obviously, he's mostly known as the Scorpion, and that's definitely what I want to see him as in live action. But there's also the possibility he could also at some point turn into Venom, because I've talked about this in a couple videos on the channel in the past, since Spider-Man No Way Home, where we ended off in that post-credit scene with part of the symbiote being left in the MCU, but Tom Hardy's Eddie Brock going back to his universe. So instead of doing do Spider-Man versus Venom in the MCU, but instead of introducing a new MCU Eddie Brock, just have Matt Gargan become the Venom of the MCU. I think that would be a great way to do it. Again, another character that has a clear grudge against Spider-Man and would be a perfect addition to this team. Now, I know that there's a Kraven movie that's happening and is supposed to come out actually this year. It's supposed to come out in October, I believe. So yeah, we're getting a Kraven the Hunter movie with Aaron Taylor-Johnson as Sergei Kravenov, aka Kraven the Hunter. And honestly, I don't mind that casting. I think it's a good casting. I'm kind of excited to see this movie. We got Chameleon in here as well. But again, I want to differentiate things. I don't know what Sony is thinking with their whole Sony universe of Spider-Man villains and whatever they're doing over there. I don't know if this version even could cross over with Tom Holland's Spider-Man. So let's just ignore this for a second, and let's get an MCU Kraven the Hunter up in here. I think either Joe Manganiello or Jason Momoa would be great castings for this role, because Kraven the Hunter, again, just like Mysterio, has been an integral part of the Sinister Six in its history, and a character that we've never seen in live action before. Obviously, we're going to in this live action movie, but a character that I especially want to see face off against Spider-Man and just this would be a great way to do it. I think this would be really, really cool, especially because you'll have a nice what you want with the Sinister Six is a nice balance. You don't want a bunch of characters that are all the same. Like, you don't want a team of 6 symbiotes, or you don't want a team of, Green Goblin, Hobgoblin, Red Goblin, Gray Goblin, all the different goblins. Like, no, you want Dr. Octopus, and Electro, and Mysterio, and Kraven the Hunter, where you have characters like this with powers or weird mutations like the Lizard or something like that, and then you have literally a regular old guy who may have a super soldier serum type enhancement to him, but for the most part, he's just a regular guy that is into hunting. So I think he would be a great addition to this team. And then finally, you gotta have Dr. Octopus. You cannot do the Sinister Six without Dr. Octopus. He is the leader. He is the one who initially forms the team. The only problem here is, of course, the fact that we got Dr. Octopus in the MCU for Spider-Man No Way Home. Played by Alfred Molina, of course. Great casting, great version of the character. I loved him in that movie. I loved him in Spider-Man 2. So that does kind of complicate things, and we've kind of talked about that, how going forward in the future, like, you can't really do any of those villains again, because especially somebody like Norman Osborn, Peter Parker's already going to know that guy is evil. So Dr. Octopus, I'm not sure how this would be done, but I just want it to happen, because again, you can't do the Sinister Six without Dr. Octopus. I mean, you can, but it's just really hard to do. So honestly, I don't even care if it is Alfred Molina again. It could be Alfred Molina playing the character again, because he's just great in that role. Or recast the role, whatever you want to do. Just, give him a new look, give him a more comics accurate look, give him the green and gold suit that he had in Spider-Man the Animated Series. I would love that in live action. That would look so cool to see. So yeah, you gotta have Dr. Octopus, but, obviously some other potential members that you could see in the MCU. Another character that was in Spider-Man Homecoming, Aaron Davis, played by Donald Glover. He was set up there to be the Prowler, another character we haven't seen since that movie. I think it would be great to see him in live action as the Prowler, although I kind of doubt that he would be a member of the Sinister Six, especially because in that movie, like, towards the end, like, he didn't really have a grudge against Spider-Man. Like, they kind of were, like, reluctant allies in that film during the interrogation scene. So I'd love to see this done in live action at some point, maybe even a live action Miles Morales movie or something like that. But I just want to see some live action Prowler. I think that'd be pretty cool. But as for other characters that haven't been done in the MCU yet, technically, like Sandman, I mean, again, someone that was done in No Way Home, but he wasn't really, like, super utilized in that. And again, that was the multiversal variant. So introduce a new MC Flint Marco. John Cena, I think, would be a great fan cast for that role. I mean, just look at this art. He looks just like Sandman, so that would be great to see. Rhino. Let's get some Rhino up in here. Again, another one we saw in live action before in The Amazing Spider-Man 2, but that was a really not great version of the character. I don't want a giant robot Rhino. If you're going to do Rhino, either do the ridiculous-looking guy in a Rhino suit. I think, again, Spectacular Spider-Man is a great example of that. Or even do something like what they did on Ultimate Spider-Man, where it's a guy that actually gets mutated and transformed into a human Rhino hybrid. I think that would be a really cool way of doing things as well. Mr. Negative is another one I just want to throw out there just for fun, just because, Mr. Negative kind of sparked a popularity after the Spider-Man PS4 game. He was, I believe, a member of the Sinister Six in that game, so that would be a great, cool thing to do. Bring him into live action. Steven Yeun would be a great casting for that character. So, yeah, the Sinister Six is something I want to see in the MCU. And again, there's a couple different variations of what you could do for a lineup here, but there's just so many potential possibilities with this team. Tom Holland's MCU Peter Parker Spider-Man versus Mysterio and Vulture and Scorpion and Shocker and Kraven and hopefully Dr. Octopus as well. That is what I really want to see. But again, you got to build up to it throughout this trilogy. But this is, of course, the smart way of doing things, or you could just let Sony be Sony and do what we are afraid they're doing and set up their own Sinister Six with these stupid Spider-Man villains, Sony spin-off whatever movies that are terrible ideas. But if that's what they end up doing, then we would be looking at a lineup like Venom, who has never been a member of the Sinister Six in the comics and isn't even a villain, so I don't know why he would be part of this team. Morbius, I mean, it's literally Morbin time here, but not even he belongs in the Sinister Six because he's not even a villain either. Literally, that whole movie was about him being not a villain and not killing people, and he has nothing to do with Spider-Man in that universe except for the post-credit scene where Vulture's like, I think it had something to do with Spider-Man. Like, you stupid post-credit scene. Speaking of that, yeah, we got Vulture. Again, I kind of want to just pretend that post-credit scene didn't happen, but if Sony wants to keep going with what they're setting up here, then that's what they're gonna do. And then, of course, you got Craven in there, Aaron Taylor Johnson, which would be like the only good part of this team, realistically. And then you get into the even worse parts. You got, of course, Bad Bunny as El Muerto. Who is excited for this movie? It comes out next year in January, I think. Man, I still can't believe this is even a thing. And then, of course, you got Hypno Hustler as well. Donald Glover is going to play Hypno Hustler, another character that doesn't really need his own movie and should also not be a part of the Sinister Six. So that's a terrible idea. But, yeah. So, at least according to these rumors from Film Odyssey, the Sinister Six is happening in live action. It's going to be Tom Holland Spider-Man fighting them. I'm just hoping they go with the smart way of doing things here. Let Kevin Feige handle this. Do it in the MCU Spider-Man trilogy, this college trilogy. Build up to it and use those villains. Don't try to shoehorn in Venom and Morbius and El Muerto and Hypno Hustler and all those characters. No, give us a good, solid Sinister Six like you would have in the comics, brought to life in live action like we all want and have wanted for years now. So anyways, guys, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. What do you think about this rumor that the Sinister Six is going to battle Tom Holland's MCU Peter Parker? And who would you like to see as a part of this lineup? And when would you like to see this film make its way to theaters? So thanks for watching. Please drop a like if you enjoyed this video. And hit the subscribe button so I can keep you up to date on everything that goes on in the Marvel life.